Okay, so for this radio we're going to refer to Writer's Troubleshooter Manual, Volume 9. There's a picture of the chassis in the manual. It talks about the different colors that the scheme came in. So we have walnut, green, ivory, red, and black. We happen to have the ivory version. So, quick look at the schematic for the electrolytics. Shows right there the two electrolytics tied to chassis ground. So if we figure out what the working voltage is, we'll have it home free. It shows where they're tied to in the tubes, here and here. So it should be easy to figure out. Whoever had this radio before had it butchered up pretty bad, so we're going to have to retrace our steps here a little bit. But outside of that, should be just change the AC cord and should be good to go. So yep, that's all it needed, just a new AC cord and change these two capacitors here. The original electrolytic was coming out of the chassis there, out of this big monster size metal can. So no markings on the can, no markings in writers, so it's hard to tell what the working voltage was of that. But judging by the size, I would say it was probably 250 volts. So we kind of overkilled it. We put 350 working volts in some 22 mic caps here. Working great. Okay, so the first thing we're going to repair is this tuning knob. As you can see, it's got a crack in the shaft there, and then a nice big hunk is missing there. So we'll repair this in a couple different ways. So stand by. I'm going to draw a little bead of super glue down this crack here and let that dry first. Alright, so we drew a bead of super glue, and then we'll pull that pencil out, and that should clamp down on itself. Okay, so we put some JB weld down in there on that shaft with some tape around it, and this phony rheostat that is the same size shaft as the one that's on the radio. So yeah, the JB weld will adhere itself to the metal shaft, but then once it dries, we're going to heat it up with a soldering iron, and then it'll come loose. So you can see how the JB weld in there has formed around the tape that it was around it, and now it's dried out, and so now it's just a matter of heating that shaft up and pull it out. And so it's slid right off with a hot soldering iron. How about that? Okay, so that's the finished product. You'll notice it's got a little new metal stabilizer inside the shaft too. Okay, so we sized the knob onto the shaft where it's going to be positioned, and just for some fun we shot it with some antique white paint just for aesthetic look, in case that knob ever comes off. Okay, so our epoxy mountings went on, but when I tried to thread them, the tap and die broke the epoxy. So we're going to this time try a little nylon threaded connector here. So we'll grind this out and replace these with these threaded connectors. Hopefully this should work out. So this is where it gets tricky. We want to make sure the mounting board lines up with the with the connectors we're going to try to install. Right now it's just a little bit off. Alright, so we line up the board with our two good mountings and use those screws as guides, and then we use this little needle pin here to line it up with the cabinet along the edge, make sure that's even, and we've got some epoxy in there. We'll wait a few minutes for this to dry. Okay, so we use our new mounting as a guide there also, and make sure they all line up on all four holes, which they do. So this should work. So there's our mountings installed. We got a little extra JB weld just to reinforce it so they don't come loose. Okay, so we got our mounting feet installed, both sides. Let's see how it does as far as level. Got a little bit of play there, not too bad. Okay, so we put a little extra cotton on that corner, and it levels up nice. This is the wooden base of the radio. You can see it's broken in half here, so we're going to fix that with a couple bar clamps and some Elmer's glue. Okay, so we got some nice tight bond wood glue here to firm this seam up. Notice the bar clamps, and got the rag underneath in case any glue dribbles underneath. We've got something to pick that up so we don't make a mess. Okay, so there it is on the clamps. Notice the C-clamps to keep everything level, and the bar clamps. Notice the paper on the outside too, keep it from getting any indentions in the wood while it's clamped.
That's the means to shut you down. That'll work on me, but that's the means to try to shut you down.
So there's a look at our knobs installed on the radio without the cabinet.